If you find that you are working with a client or you have a prospect who is sort of making you feel like they're going to take you outside of your zone of genius, I would suggest to you that you think about whether or not that area is one where you need to grow in anyway, or you may want to build out a new program. Hey guys, I hope you're having a great day. Let's dive in, guys. Let's get to the nitty of the gritty. We're going to be talking about 5 prospect types that your personal framework can help you manage better or avoid altogether. Have you ever gotten yourself into a situation where you feel like you want to fire a client? In recent weeks, I have actually had conversations with 2 separate clients who wanted to fire either the contractor they hire or the client that they are servicing. And I have coached them in various ways that they can sort of manage those situations. But it got me to thinking, what if we could just avoid this as much as possible? Or once we have those clients, how can we manage them a little bit better? So I came up with 5 prospect types that you may have to manage. If you already have them, you may find yourself struggling to manage them well and wanting to fire them, or how to avoid bringing them on your client roster altogether. I'm sorry, guys. I just got a puppy. Let me show you. Come see. Look at him. Isn't he not handsome? Say hi, everybody. Say hi. Hi, everyone. Okay, now that we've gotten the cuteness out of the way. So your first prospect that you may have to manage if you've already brought them onto your client roster is that person who triggers your insecurities. Now, this prospect is going to be one who asks a lot of questions, who seems to be very detailed and type A personality themselves. And if you're already dealing with a little bit of imposter syndrome, you may feel like you aren't going to be able to service them as well as you want to service them. So in order to manage this particular type of client, you want to use your personal framework by reminding yourself of your strengths and reminding yourself of those limitations that you have, and then creating those circumstances for optimal success to actually work with this client. Oftentimes your insecurities are based on the fact that you think that they want you to operate outside of your zone of genius, or you think that what they need from you is going to make you operate outside of your genius, but you don't have to. They came to you. They chose you as the person they wanted to work with for some reason. So just continue to do what you did to get them and operate in your strengths, and make sure that you are doing your best to minimize those limitations and create circumstances for optimal success, so that you know in the end, regardless of what happens, that you have done your best. All right, the next prospect that I think your personal framework can help you either manage or just avoid altogether is that prospect that takes you outside of your zone of genius. Now, there are going to be times where you are stretched in your expertise and you are going to feel like you are not operating at your best or in an area that you feel really comfortable with. So my suggestion to you for this is to just remember what your strengths actually are, but then go and do a little bit of continuing education, whether it's research, it's reading books, maybe taking or watching a webinar, to sort of trigger some new ideas, some fresh thoughts, and sort of motivate you into kind of growing in your craft anyway. I think these types of clients are great to help you kind of get out of a rut, where as coaches or service providers, sometimes we find that what we're doing is so easy, it's just kind of routine. And when someone wants us to stretch that, it takes us, or it makes it feel like they're taking us outside of our zone of genius, when actually you should be trying your best to grow and build in your expertise anyway. So if you find that you are working with a client or you have a prospect who is sort of making you feel like they're going to take you outside of your zone of genius, I would suggest to you that you think about whether or not that area is one where you need to grow in anyway, or maybe it is an area where you need, or you may want to build out a new program because it is a natural progression from what you already do. Again, your personal framework is going to help you with this because you will know where your strengths lie and you will be able to apply that to this new area. So it's not that you should be going outside of your zone of genius because that's how they make you feel. You should look at who you are, what you're bringing to the table, what they're asking you for, and how you can take what you know in terms of your expertise and your strengths and apply it to that area. Is there a way that you can create a product or service that will give them what it is they need without taking you completely outside of your zone of genius, if that makes sense? The next prospect that I think that your personal framework can help you either manage or avoid altogether is that prospect who lacks clarity and focus. For me, this is not necessarily a non-negotiable, but I do struggle with helping people who don't seem to want to help themselves. Depending on your area of focus, this might be exactly who it is you're looking for. Those people who just cannot be focused. Now, as it relates to clarity in my business, I help people find clarity in their business. I help them make better decisions. And so I wouldn't necessarily not want to work with someone who couldn't be clear, but they do give me pause because it depends on the level that they need help. If they have absolutely no idea what they're doing and they can't focus and do the things that I'm asking them to do to get clear, then yes, that becomes a trigger for me. It becomes an area where I need to manage them or I need to not take them on as a client at all. So your personal framework, as we talked about in the past, it's a boundary that you're setting around yourself to make sure that no matter where you are and what you're doing or who you're working with, you are operating as your best. You're able to do and be your best in those circumstances. So the way this is helping you to avoid these particular prospects or to manage them if you already have them is to apply this personal framework to that set of circumstances and operate as your best and do your best with what you know you can do. And if there are limitations in there, that is when you verbalize that to your audience or to your prospect or your client. So yes, your personal framework can help you either manage that person who's not quite clear, not quite focused, or if in the prospect phase you are doing your intake, you're doing your qualifying of this prospect, you can then determine whether or not they are at a point where you can help them find clarity, or if they're at a point where they're just naturally not focused or they're just not quite ready for what it is you have to offer, and you can pass them, just let them pass by and not pick up that dollar, because the goal here is to help you pick up the right dollar and not pick up the wrong dollar and feel like you have to fire your clients. The fourth prospect that I think your personal framework can help you either manage or avoid altogether is that prospect who exhibits non-negotiable behavior. When you are creating your personal framework, you have identified those non-negotiables, those things that you will not tolerate in your business, you will not work with in other businesses, you will not entertain. If during the qualifying process you find that this prospect is exhibiting these non-negotiable behaviors, that is your red flag to stop the process and share them with someone else, give them referrals to go to someone else, because these are areas that you're just not willing to negotiate on. If you have someone on your client roster right now who is exhibiting these non-negotiable behaviors, then yes, this is your opportunity to fire that client. I would just go ahead and suggest it, because we don't want to be taken outside of our personal framework. We don't operate as our best if we are outside of those boundaries that we've set for ourselves. It's when we apply those boundaries that we are operating as our best, that we are able to give our clients exactly what it is they need from us to the best of our abilities, right? So if you have someone in your client roster now who is exhibiting non-negotiable behavior, then I would suggest creating an exit strategy for them to get them off of your roster. This can be done very easily. Let me know in the comments below if you would like a video on how to create an exit strategy to eliminate a client from your roster, and I will put one together for you. The final prospect that I think your personal framework can help you manage or avoid altogether is that prospect who is operating in the wrong stage of entrepreneurship for you. If you remember correctly, I created a video on the 5 stages of entrepreneurship, and I asked you if you were getting clients who were bossing in the right stage. And I want you to go back and look at that video. We will try to put it up here so that you can watch that video. What I've found is that there are 5 stages of entrepreneurship. You have your think up, you have your scale up, you have your stay up, you have your level up, and you have your up level. Now go look at that video and I will describe all of them to you in that video. But suffice it to say, depending on where you are in that stage, you should recognize where your client base is. And for a long time, guys, I did not understand this myself. And then I started to think about it a little bit more. And some of the reasons that I was not seeing the success in my business that I wanted to see was because I was bossing in the wrong stage. I really have a heart for startups and people who are just starting their entrepreneurial journey because I know the struggle that I had. I wish that someone had offered some of the tips and tools and programs that I provide to my client. And so I wanted to offer those same things to that level, that stage of bossing. However, what I found was what I actually am providing to people, there needs to be some level of understanding about business. There needs to be some awareness of how they want their business to grow, and they have to be open-minded to some of the tools and techniques that I share with them. And so sometimes that think up stage and that startup stage, they're still sort of trying to wrap their head around the fact that they've either spent money to start their business, they have to spend money to start their business, they're really trying to make their money back. And so their mindset was not where it needed to be. So I was bossing in the wrong stage and I had to change who I'm actually doing business with. So if your prospect is not bossing in the right stage for you to help them, then that may be an opportunity for you to avoid that prospect altogether. If you have already found yourself in that position where you are working with someone who is bossing in the wrong stage, then I would suggest that you sort of minimize the amount of time and energy you spend, but still provide them with some level of value, maybe some of your free content or some of your lower hanging fruit products that can at least get them to the right stage, or at least showcase that they are willing to do that work to get some of your more expensive and more quality content. So I hope that makes sense. All right, so let us recap. There are 5 prospect types that I think you can use your personal framework to either manage a little bit better in your business or avoid altogether. And the 5 are that prospect who triggers your insecurities, okay? The prospect who is going to take you outside of your zone of genius. The prospect who doesn't have clarity and focus. The prospect who exhibits those non-negotiable behaviors, and the prospect who is bossing in the wrong stage. I think that does it, guys. I hope you enjoyed this week's video. Listen, if you want to learn a little bit more about how you can use your personal framework and apply it in various areas of your business, I really think it requires a mindset shift, and you should consider joining my community of people who are really wanting to be bosses in their business, be CEOs in their business, and they want to learn how to work on their business, not in it. They want to get those processes and create those systems in their business that helps them work more efficiently and more effectively. They want to learn how to shift their mindset in various areas of their business so that they're open to what it is they need to do to grow, and they're able to receive that information easier and recognize it right when it is right in front of them. So if that's you, the link below to join the CEO Circle will be down, so make sure that you add your name to the list. We've already gotten started with the first mindset shift, and that was the mindset shift of going from the idea of work-life balance to the idea of congruency in our work and life and finding harmony there. So if that is something that you need in your life and business, make sure that you go ahead and join the CEO Circle in the description box below. And then I've got a myriad of other things that you can tap into to kind of get your CEO on, get your bossing on. All right, thank you so much for watching today's video, and I look forward to seeing you again next week. Bye.